John Beckwith and Jeremy Gray, a pair of committed womanizers who sneak into weddings to take advantage of the romantic tinge in the air, find themselves at odds with one another when John meets and falls for Claire Cleary.
This is Ryan.
And this is Ashley.
And this is
Ruining Our Childhood,
a nostalgic weekly podcast where a married couple rewatches and reviews our favorite 90s and 2000s movies to decide if they hold up to our adult standards.
That is this podcast. And hi, guys. It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Took a winter break, if you would. Will.
If you something with a W.
And we're back. This is our first episode back. We brought back the loser bracket.
Mm-hmm. Officially in round 2.
Officially in round 2. We're in the 8? Or
yes.
No?
Yeah.
We're in the top 8?
We're in the Elite 8.
Or the not so elite 8.
Yeah.
Judging by these movies.
Yeah.
And our first week, Wedding Crashers went up against Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Mm-hmm. And Wedding Crashers won.
I was a little surprised by that.
It was very close. We only did our poll on Instagram. Going forward, we're probably only going to do polls on Instagram and or Twitter. Mm-hmm. Just, we're kind of stepping away from our Facebook page. Not anything you guys did, not anything to do with like Facebook or anything. It's just one added thing that we have to do each week, and we're not really actually seeing that much reward for having it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We definitely have more social interaction on Instagram and Twitter. Mm-hmm. And so I would just rather be able to focus on those 2 pages instead of trying to do Facebook, which is like a graveyard.
And I feel like Facebook has made it more difficult for us to do our polls the last 6 months or so.
Yeah. They changed their the way you can post things, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Not to worry your pretty little ears about it, guys.
Yes. But we appreciate anyone who did vote in the Instagram poll.
Yes. And I'll change it up. Maybe one week I'll do a Twitter poll. Maybe make you guys have to find it. No, I'm just kidding.
Make you all turn into Indiana Jones and you have to go find our poll.
That sounds horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, Wedding Crashers won the 2005 classic Wedding Crashers. And yeah, what do we do now? I don't even know. It's been like a month.
We go take a trip down memory road.
That's
and
what
we
do.
talk about our movie.
That's very true.
Yeah. So this movie was released on July 15th of 2005. It had a budget of $40 million and it made $288 million. The popular TV shows from 2005 were Grey's Anatomy, Without a Trace, and Dancing with the Stars. The number 1 song the week the movie came out was Carrie Underwood, Inside Your Heaven. A couple other popular songs were Gwen Stefani, Holla Back Girl, and Kanye West featuring Jamie Foxx, Gold Digger. And some popular movies were War of the Worlds, King Kong, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Wedding Crashers was actually the 6th most popular movie for the year.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. I remember it being a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I felt like this was a time period where it seemed like Vince Vaughn was going to become a very big comedic actor.
Uh-huh.
Because he had done Old School and then this, and I felt like then he did not.
Well, I think, and we've talked about it before, if you're somebody that has become popular and then you do like every single movie that is offered to you, whether the quality is there or not, people start to get sick of you. And also, no offense against Vince Vaughn, but he essentially plays the same character in most of the movies he's in.
This character and the one in Old School, I want to say are the same.
Pretty much.
Except the one in Old School was married.
Yes, and has a kid.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, obviously we did Old School, so I think we might have talked about how he was kind of like this character that probably talked a big game when he was around his friends, but when he was home, he was probably like a devoted dad.
Oh, absolutely.
Very similar to Bradley Cooper's character in Hangover, I would say.
Yes.
You know? He's talking shit about being settled down and everything, but he, at the end of the day, he loves it. But man, if his wife found out he was talking that much shit,
ugh.
I know what I would do.
I was gonna say, you're like
murder you.
Ashley's got her backhand ready when she's talking about it. She's like, if I found out, you are gonna get backhanded. 5 across the eyes, right?
Or possibly, this is great. We're joking about domestic violence. Not a great start.
No.
To 2021. But you know,
it's gonna be better than 2020.
Is it? Is it just more or less the same? Possibly even worse.
It's possibly gonna be worse.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, who knows?
Again, we're very big on keeping it about the movies.
Yes.
And not the crumbling world around us.
No.
You know, in 2 years when the zombie apocalypses come, we'll still be here pretending like everything is okay in our little bubble.
Yeah.
Talking about, you know, some crappy movie that came out 15 years ago.
We're talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, whether or not it held up or didn't. And we're 2 years into the Civil War, so it's going good.
Oh, God. You know, we joke about this stuff because that's how we process our emotions.
That's how we deal with this.
We're very stressed and we try not to think about the state of the world too much.
No.
If I can get a break from it, and then I make jokes and I think some people are like, that's not funny, Ashley. Our world is collapsing. And you're like, but
we're crying on the inside.
Anyway,
yes.
Back to Wedding Crashers. So, going down memory road, what was your earliest memory of this movie?
I remember going to see it in theaters with my friend Monica and my brother and thinking it was really funny because, again, at that time period, I was like, Vince Vaughn's hilarious.
Yes.
And I always liked Owen Wilson a lot, especially in like Starsky and Hutch and some of those other movies. And I do remember enjoying this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And I bought it on DVD even. And I was like, we're going to go to weddings and crash them. No, I never said that.
That sounds like the opposite of what you would do. You're like, I have to talk to strangers? No, thank you.
Sounds terrible. I think this was the year I was in my buddy's wedding. And I was just like, exactly. I talked to the bridesmaid that was like my partner for the day. And that was about it.
Yeah. You're like, my game is not strong.
Yeah. And I'm not here to hook up with the ladies.
Yeah.
No.
I could just imagine a 20-year-old Ryan trying to be like Vince Vaughn.
Trying to be smooth.
I don't know. I feel like Owen Wilson's probably the more smooth one.
Yeah, he definitely was.
I remember a lot from this movie because I did really enjoy it too. I thought it was hilarious. It's definitely at the peak of what we've discussed as like the bro comedy. So, and I know there's going to be a lot of cool cameos and of like comedic actors and just regular actors. I think the thing I remember most about this movie is just how they were whittling down women into little boxes.
Yeah.
So
you're going to be excited to watch it.
Yeah. You know, just this is this type of woman. This woman is, you know, a stage 5 clinger. Yeah. So obviously I think this movie's going to hold up. Not just kidding. I don't think it's going to hold up at all. If we want to get into that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think there's still going to be parts that are going to be funny to me. And I'm going to have like a little bit of a nostalgic feel with it. But I feel like the over-sexualizing of women and like you just said, putting them in boxes is really going to hurt the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to hold up.
I agree. Yeah. I like I just said. But I also agree with you that there's probably going to be parts that I think are funny or the jokes I'll remember. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember thinking that was really funny at the time. But I think it's just going to be a example of the time and not a good example of the time.
No.
So, but nonetheless, I'm looking forward to rewatching it.
When would you say the last time was that you watched this?
I feel like me and you watched it when we like first moved in with each other, possibly. Okay. So I don't know.
About 13 years ago then.
I've seen it several times.
Yeah.
Because again, when it came out in 2005, I was like 19. I thought it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same.
It didn't take much to make me think things were funny, you know?
I felt like around this time, there was every few months in the movie theater, a good comedy came out that you wanted to go see. And I don't know that that's still happening. Pre-COVID, even.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like comedies were really tearing up the box office that much.
I agree.
Yeah.
Comedies have kind of had a decline.
Which bums me out. I love a good comedy.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know why I paused like that.
I don't know.
I was thinking about something and kind of got sidetracked. Yeah, I agree. I think TV shows have been taking up more of the comedy route than movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. The last few years we've had some, not last few years, but like comedies have always done really well on TV and continue to flourish on TV. Where can you stream this movie?
According to realgood.com, our preferred site to see where movies are streaming, you can't stream this anywhere, but you can rent it and buy it.
Okay.
So it's not on Netflix or anything like that, according to this. We do own it.
Yeah, because we're fancy.
Because we're bragging about our horrible addiction to buying things.
Mm-hmm. We've gotten really good about not buying movies as much.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That was a weird sentence that I just said, too. We've gotten really good about not buying things as much.
Buying movies as much. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
There's a point where I was like, why are we even buying this? It's going to be on a streaming service. There's no point to it. We'll have access to it.
We did Disney movies for a while there. We'd still buy them.
Yeah.
And Marvel, but now we have Disney Plus. So what's the point?
Right?
Yeah.
Just clutter, Ryan.
Exactly.
We don't need it in our lives.
Exactly.
Okay, anyway, tangent over. So
we're going to go ahead and hit that
pause and go watch Wedding Crashers and come back and talk about it.
Okay?
Okay, bye.
Bye. We just finished watching Wedding Crashers, and we're going to go ahead and break down our movie with our categories like we always do. Our first category is Well, Hello There.
Well, hello there.
Where we talk about any cameos of famous or recognizable actors or actresses that we forgot were in the movie, and there was actually quite a bit.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised because I think we mentioned before that there probably was going to be a lot. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. Who was the first person you had?
Obviously, there's two main characters. One is played by Owen Wilson. He plays John Beckwith. Mm-hmm. And Owen Wilson is very famous. Mm-hmm. Meet the Parents, Royal Tenenbaums, and he's going to be in the new Loki series.
I did not know that until right now.
I think he was in the trailer that they released like a month ago.
I must have missed it.
Oh.
But I was quite excited when I was looking him up. I was like, what's he been up to lately? And I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
Also the voice of Lightning McQueen.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Of course.
Yes.
Who is yours?
The other star is Vince Vaughn. He plays Jeremy Gray, who's John's best friend. We've done a few of his movies, Old School and Dodgeball.
Yes.
And he more recently was in the movie Fighting with My Family.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And then he does the voice for the F is for Family. Okay. I think it might be on Netflix. It's an animated series.
Sounds correct.
And Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
Too. So.
Jeez. We should just change our name to the Vince Vaughn Podcast.
My next one is one of the first actresses we see, Rebecca De Mornay. Mm-hmm. Is that how you say her name?
De Mornay.
I just feel like I don't say it fancy enough.
No.
You know? She is been in a lot of movies, but more notably Risky Business with Tom Cruise, mm-hmm. and most recently in Jessica Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. She looked very familiar, and then her husband also looked equally familiar, which is played by Dwight Yoakam.
Yes.
I had no idea that was him.
Oh.
Obviously, he's a very famous singer, but he's done a lot of acting. He was on Roswell back in the day, mm-hmm. and more recently was on Under the Dome.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And they just play the married couple at the very beginning who are arguing, kind of sets up what John and Jeremy do for a living. Mm-hmm. Then you never see them work again.
Nope. They're divorce lawyers.
Well, they're mediators.
Divorce mediators for 2 minutes of a hour-and-a-half movie.
Gotta love comedies and romantic comedies.
Yeah.
My next one is Christopher Walken. Plays Secretary Cleary. And obviously, Christopher Walken. Yes. I don't feel like we need to list all his stuff, but Deer Hunter, Hairspray. And then I see he's in 2 new shows in production.
Oh, okay.
2 new TV shows. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. My next one is John McCain. He plays a wedding guest at Secretary Cleary's daughter's
I'm assuming
wedding.
He plays himself.
I would assume he was playing John McCain, former senator, presidential candidate.
And then also James Carville, right? Was the other guest that was standing right next to him.
Yes.
And I do want to say that Senator Cleary's wife does mention that it's like Senator McCain. Like she's like, oh, Senator. Blah.
Yeah. I can't picture he was playing wedding guest Steve.
This movie is set in D.C.
Yeah.
I always forget that.
Well, because they only give you like 2 establishing shots, and then they're allegedly outside the Lincoln Memorial for a scene.
Yeah.
Just
2 scenes, technically.
Drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one I had was Rachel McAdams. She plays Claire Cleary, which is a mouthful to say.
Yes.
And she's obviously from Mean Girls, True Detective, and Doctor Strange, and she's going to be in the sequel, Doctor Strange sequel.
Yes.
I don't know the name of it. It had a lot of words. I didn't
Doesn't
write it.
say something about the universe, I think, is on the title.
Yeah. Makes sense.
My next one was Jane Seymour.
Yes.
She plays Claire's mother, also Christopher Walken's wife. We know Jane Seymour as Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Our dog is named after her.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's superstar athlete Brady Quinn. And we're not joking.
Yeah, I wish we were.
More recently, Jane Seymour has been on The Kaminsky Method with Michael Douglas, and also she did some episodes of Jane the Virgin.
That's true. My mom loved Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. I don't remember a lot of the show. I just know she was a doctor in like the Old West.
Never watched an episode, but I knew that was kind of the premise. I'd seen enough pictures.
To
Jane
know.
Seymour was a very famous person.
Right.
Yes.
My next one is Isla Fisher. I can't say Fisher. She plays Gloria Cleary, one of the Rachel McAdams' sister, not daughter. We random casting. I think they're the same age.
Yeah.
Isla Fisher might be a little older. She's been in a bunch of stuff, obviously. Tag. More recently, Godmothered, which is a movie on Disney Plus, I believe, with Gillian Bell.
Correct.
Yes.
My next one is Keir O'Donnell, who plays Todd Cleary, which is obviously Claire's brother. He was also in American Sniper and more recently the TV show Into the Dark.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Someone watches that TV show, as you can tell by her reaction.
You know who I think he looks like is the guy that was in like Friday Night Lights and Lucifer, and that's who I thought it was.
Oh, and Breakout Kings?
No, that's a different guy.
Different guy. Kind of looks like him.
He just, I don't know. Okay. I totally thought he was one of those guys, and I realized, no, he's a totally different actor. You just blew my mind. Okay. The next one for me is Jeff Stoltz. He is more notably famous for being in Seventh Heaven, if you were one of those people that watched Seventh Heaven, which I was not.
I was.
But he was in the later years, right?
I believe he played Jessica Biel's boyfriend at one point.
Oh, okay. Sure. And then more recently, he is in Little Fires Everywhere.
Yes.
So
I went, what's that guy been up to? I haven't seen him in years. And
he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, he's in a very famous TV show with 2 really famous people.
Yeah.
Gotcha. He's doing well.
You're so judgy.
I know, I am. But you were thinking the same thing. What the hell's that guy been in lately?
I know I've seen him in stuff.
Okay.
He had his own TV show for a while, like 5 years ago on Fox. It got canceled.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So there.
I do remember that show.
Hashtag Jeff Stoltz is doing okay.
Jeff Stoltz is friends with Reese Witherspoon. Okay. My next one is Henry Gibson. He played the priest. Right away, I went, that guy looks familiar. Henry Gibson was in The Burbs. He was also William Leakey in The Biodome.
Yes.
And most famously, he was on Laugh-In.
He was probably the most credible person in Biodome.
Hands down the most credible person.
We haven't seen Ellen Albertini Dow, right?
Of course not.
She plays Grandma Cleary.
This should be getting to know the Clearys, because so many of these people are related.
Obviously, she is the little old lady from The Wedding Singer. And what other movie was she in? Like maybe Dumb and Dumber? There was one.
Yeah, she was
more
on
recently.
Something Else We Did. But the big thing is Rappin' Granny.
Yes.
Yeah. My next one was Larry Joe Campbell. He plays the best man to Jeff Stoltz's Craig. He was on According to Jim. Back in the day, he was like the main supporting actor. And more recently, he's been on Space Force with Steve Carell.
Oh, okay. The next one for me is Bradley Cooper.
Little known actor, starting out in Hollywood.
He plays Sack Lodge, maybe the stupidest name. But also...
His name was Sack and not Zach.
Sack.
You just blew my mind.
Like a sack of potatoes.
I thought his name was Zach.
I kept waiting for them to I think they do make a slight joke, but some of Vince Vaughn's jokes especially come and go so quickly.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention...
You're missing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Wow.
Yeah, Sack Lodge.
Okay.
Obviously, Bradley Cooper's from The Hangover. We mentioned it earlier because, we're talking about Vince Vaughn characters and such. Stars Born. And
All About Steve. I think that was a huge hit for him. I was like, what's the worst thing we could mention he was in?
I don't even see what he's doing lately. But he's Bradley Cooper. Yeah. I'm sure he's doing something.
Yeah. He's doing okay.
Yeah.
My next one was Ron Canada. He plays Randolph. Ashley knows him as being a police officer in Home Alone 2.
Some would say the better Home Alone.
Also, more recently, he's been an Admiral Tucker on the Orville.
Oh, okay. I saw that he was in House of Cards, and then I remembered where I mostly know him from is he plays Christina Million's dad in Snow Globe.
Okay.
The Freeform / ABC Family holiday movie that we don't watch every year, but I've watched it several times.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Who's your next one?
My last one is the legendary Chaz Reinhold, played by Will Ferrell.
Yes. And great cameo.
I was going to say, when you think of good cameos, I would always think of Matt Damon in Euro Trip, and I would always think of Will Ferrell in this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when I remember watching this movie the first time, and you just see this shadowy figure coming down the stairs, and you know it's Chaz.
Yeah.
And you're going, who did they get to play him?
Right.
And it is not a letdown.
Right. Because at this time, especially, Will Ferrell was at the peak of his comedy career.
Yes.
So.
He had just done Anchorman. So, yeah.
I had one last one. David Conrad. He played Trap, another douchebag name. But he played Sack's friend that he calls to get a private detective's number.
Yes.
He played Ian Quinn on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do you remember? He was the villain in the first and second season.
Very nice.
He was the mogul that they had to he was doing nefarious things. Yeah.
I remember him. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Is that it?
That's all
We're done. Bye. Right. We're just making this hello there because it was the highest rated category on our Ruiners Club survey.
And why wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it be? Yeah. I'm just kidding. We're going to do more podcasts.
But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break.
Oh, yeah, we need to break that.
And then we'll be right back.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And we're back. You want to go ahead and introduce our next category?
Yes. The next category is called Kids Would Call It a Throwback. We call it the prime of our teens, where we talk about fashion, dated references, and that's it. What did you think about the fashion?
I really didn't have an issue with the fashion. Obviously, a lot of this movie revolves around weddings, so people are wearing tuxedos, suits, dresses. Here was my issue with the fashion in this movie. There's a scene where they go to Secretary Cleary's house, and they're going to play a game of touch football.
Yes.
And they have just left a wedding, so they're going to change. Everybody changed into khakis and polos and button-down shirts to go play football.
That's how rich people do it, Ryan.
The only one that was dressed appropriately was Bradley Cooper.
And he was wearing like a rugby.
He was. He was wearing a rugby shirt and shorts.
Yeah.
And was way too into this game. But I was like, who the fuck changes into those clothes?
I can understand as far as John and Jeremy because they get invited last minute to this place, so I think they're borrowing clothes.
Yes.
But I agree.
Furthermore, you bring up they're borrowing clothes. Vince Vaughn mentions he's 6'5".
That's true.
They just happen to have a pair of khakis that would fit him.
That's a very good point. They really missed a comedy thing right there. Maybe they wanted to do it. Vince Vaughn's like, I'm not wearing super tight pants.
And I'm not going to wear, what are they, the flood pants? Where they're up. They wouldn't get past his knee, probably.
That's a good point. I did think because this is set on the East Coast, and it's like this white elite family a political family, and they have like this nice huge home, like everything's super beigey and preppy. And yeah, it did not disappoint as far as the mid 2000s fashion. A lot of baggy khaki pants. Yeah,
all of it. I'm going, I wore stuff like that. That was my dress up attire. Their playing football attire was me getting dressed up.
You're like, I'm going to a school dance.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you're a jerk.
I just remember all the boys like in junior high wearing really baggy khakis and a baggy polo shirt, and that was their fancy.
Yeah,
going to a dance.
That was mine getting dressed up. I didn't learn what it was to wear clothes that fit till I was about 18.
Well, to be fair, It's stuck in our head again because stupid Letterkenny's new scenes came out, or scenes.
New scenes.
Well, they're so short they might as well just be scenes.
Yeah.
New episodes came out. I was going to say that like in the late 2000s or early 2000s, late 90s, like baggy stuff was very in style for men. So.
For sure.
And then for women, it was like literally no material at all. Like
low-rise jeans.
Do jeans need to even go up to your vagina? No.
It stops mid-thigh. Oh, God.
Want to move on to some dated references?
Yes. I feel like these categories, I feel like I did not have a lot.
What? Did we watch the same movie?
For just the dated references in the technology and fashion. But everything else I had a lot. I thought it was a dated reference that Vince Vaughn goes in and hands Owen Wilson a newspaper with a wedding announcement for a wedding they should crash.
That's true.
I was like, I don't know the last time I bought a newspaper.
That's sad, but true.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any like dated references in the sense that newspapers or whatever, like you just pointed out, but there was a lot of offensive things flying out of everybody's mouths.
Yes.
Like a lot.
Granny.
Yes.
Might be the least politically correct character in the history of cinema.
Yes. I think the only thing that saves it is that she says all those things and people are offended. And then even Claire, Rachel McAdams' character, tries to correct her and she's like, oh, grandma.
Yeah.
So I guess in that way, you're like, oh, it's the crazy, racist old grandma.
Yeah. Who's homophobic as well.
Yes, very homophobic. She went on quite the tangent about Eleanor Roosevelt being a lesbian. I realized rewatching this movie how much I must have watched it because just their monologues, like even their first monologue when they're mediating the divorce and Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I almost can quote that. I've seen this movie so much.
I definitely watched it quite a bit for a while there in like 2005. I'm like, this movie's hilarious. Watch it again.
Yeah. Did you have any offensive jokes that you wanted to mention?
We mentioned Granny. I think there was some other stuff. This I thought was offensive. Was when they're setting up their schedule for attending weddings, they bust out purple hearts.
Yes.
to get free drinks at a wedding.
Yeah.
Like, what up, stolen valor?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to get your ass kicked
Yeah.
when you actually run into some veterans?
I was going to say, yeah.
Obviously, this movie is based around two guys that are faking their way to get into weddings.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's pretty bad. They like to throw away the pussy word.
Yeah.
A lot. Just throwing it out there everywhere. Just
I like that you said they like to throw away the pussy word.
I meant to say throwing it out there.
Nope. Throw it away.
And
funny.
it's just it's bad because there's so much toxic masculinity in this movie, but it's almost trying to go away from that. Like the relationship between John and Jeremy is very grounded in that they're secure in their friendship and they love each other, and they even tell each other that they love each other. So that's, I guess, a step up from the, oh, don't touch me, bro, like that, toxic masculinity. But it's still, I don't know. There's just parts where I'm just like, okay, we get it. You're two red-blooded males just fucking your way through life.
You're tough guys. We get it.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about here?
I did not.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I have problems with like characters and certain ways certain characters are depicted, but we'll get into that later.
Okay.
Want to hit us with the next category?
Our next category, we're going to go ahead and leave a message on our friend's answering machine and talk about a little technology.
Literally the only thing I had written down.
The only other thing I have was Chaz, when Owen Wilson goes to see him at his house, he has a TV that is quite old with a VCR attached to it, and I think it was just Betty Boop cartoons playing. And again, Chaz is a 40-year-old man.
That's true.
Just hanging out watching Betty Boop.
Also, there's a scene where Randolph, who is the Cleary's butler, is in his room watching TV, and his TV was like a 13-inch, like shitty box television. And I was like, this seems like a very rich family. They can't give you something better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Maybe spring for a 20-inch television.
Right?
Yeah.
So we did own this on DVD, so we had some DVD trailers.
Oh, yes.
Including a trailer for the Dukes of Hazzard remake that I totally forgot existed for 5 seconds.
I want to say might own it on DVD.
Oh, God.
But it was, I remember, I told you, when we left the theater after watching it, we all looked at each other and said it was an incredibly disappointing movie.
Yeah. You'd think with like Sean William Scott and Johnny Knoxville.
Mm-hmm. And at the peak of their popularity,
yes,
Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott. And it was just a really disappointing movie.
Right.
Yeah.
There was another trailer.
There was that movie with Colin Farrell.
It was called New World.
New World.
With Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I don't remember that movie at all.
The last one, though, was that trailer with Antonio Banderas.
Ooh, Take the Lead.
Take the Lead.
It had
Rufio.
It had Rufio in it. And it had Jenna
DeWine?
DeWine.
No longer Jenna DeWine Tatum.
Yeah, she got remarried.
Oh, okay.
And then there was somebody else in it.
Ray Liotta's name's in there.
Yeah.
We never saw
There's
him.
a bunch of people in it, but
Yeah. Oh, and Astrid from
Fringe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dance movie, We had an obsession with dance movies in the 2000s.
We did. Yeah, we liked our Step Up and Take the Lead. I don't know what other ones.
Save the Last Dance.
There you go. Sorry.
I won't say is the best one.
Yeah.
It was my favorite when I was a kid. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? I did not choose a favorite song.
You did not.
I forgot.
I did choose
go
one.
ahead.
My favorite song from this movie was Sparks by Coldplay.
Okay.
It's the song that plays when Owen Wilson and Rachel McAdams can't sleep and they kind of walk to each other's door, but not at the right time so they don't run into each other.
Of course.
And I always liked that song, and I remember after seeing this movie, I went home and downloaded that song. Yeah. The old Coldplay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of music, though, and that one was memorable.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good one.
Cool.
Way to not pick one.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they did use shout.
Yes, they did.
In their montage of going to weddings. So there was that.
A little bit louder now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on?
I don't know how this movie was a movie that centered around weddings and there wasn't This Will Be Everlasting Love by Natalie Cole or that Jackie Wilson song that is in every romantic comedy
or the
ever.
chicken dance at least.
Come on.
Do you want to move on?
Yes.
The next category is called Is It Even Good? Where we talk about the plot and plot holes, and then we talk about our funniest and cringiest moments of this film. So the plot of the movie, we've kind of touched on it. It's John and Jeremy. They love to crash weddings. They have rules set up. They were taught by Chaz, who we mentioned was Will Ferrell. And, you know, they just want to hook up with women.
That's all they care about.
Yeah.
Although they're, 40, I would say.
I think they're actually supposed to be early 30s.
Okay. All right.
That's my guess.
Still,
this movie is 16 years old, so.
That is true. That is true.
Did you have anything that you wanted to talk about on the plot, or do you want to move on to the plot holes?
I'm ready to bring on the holes. I'm ready to bring them on.
Okay, go ahead.
I get excited anytime I come up with plot holes because there's a lot of times when we're watching movies, I'm just like, yeah, it all makes sense.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
perfectly reasonable.
You're like, what movie did you just watch?
Right.
So, you mentioned our good friend Sack. He calls, what was his friend's name?
Trap.
Jesus God.
These are probably real people's names that are in, like, the political elite.
Oh, God.
Just saying.
With Tug Romney.
Yeah.
So, Sack calls Trap to have a background check and a private investigator and investigate Jeremy and John.
Yes.
And his background check and investigation turns up that they're wedding crashers? What? I believe it would... Also, they gave fake names.
Every single wedding.
Every single wedding.
A different story. It wasn't like... I think it would make more sense if at the beginning of the movie, because they've been doing it for years, there's a reporter, right? And she's like following them around. Kind of like Van Wilder style. And she's going, this is the lifestyle that they're doing. Of course, that would defeat the purpose because people would know who they were and be like, those are the two guys that likes to crash weddings. So... At the same time, but I'm like, how did they know?
Yeah. They gave fake names. They said they were venture capitalists, so they gave fake jobs. You don't know anything about them. It's not going to turn up on a background check that these guys, hey, they're wedding crashers.
You are so correct with the fake names, too.
Yeah.
That's so true.
When that happened, I went, how? How did you get that? Also, background check's going to reveal... their criminal history. Not that they crash weddings for fun.
Who has a record of that?
Yes.
There's just somebody out there in the world that has records of things that people like to do. A hobby background check.
Exactly. If they do a background check on me and you, they're not going to go, hey, these two like to build puzzles.
Yeah.
They're puzzle makers.
They would know that we have a weekly podcast.
Yeah.
There's a record of that somewhere.
Correct.
But, yeah. Puzzles?
I mean, we charted in Australia, people. Come on. This would pop up.
Humble brag.
Humble brag.
Yeah. No, that's a big one that I didn't even write down.
Oh, thank you.
I think at that point in the movie that I kind of stopped writing plot holes. I mean, I don't think there necessarily were tons. That one was a very big one. So this wedding that they go to, it's like the last of the year. It's the Cleary wedding. Their oldest daughter's getting married to Craig was his name, Jeff Stoltz character. They go to this huge wedding, and it's a political gathering, basically. So why did you have to say that you're related in some way? Also, they were sitting on the groom's side.
Yeah.
So technically they should be related to somebody on the groom's side. But later in the movie, Sack, who is suspicious of them, goes, whose family are you related to? Or like, who in the family are you related to?
Yeah.
They could have said, we're related to Craig.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you had to say.
Touche.
Craig wasn't even there at the weekend.
Yeah, he wasn't going to shoot a hole in that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, why did you go for the family? You could have been like, we work with so-and-so or I work at the same place as the secretary or something.
I work for Congressman Schmishmortion. Like, come on.
Yeah. So that was one of mine.
Very good point.
Did you have any other ones?
The other one that I have is that Gloria, Isla Fisher's character, is still allowed to marry John after it is revealed they're sleazeballs.
She's allowed to marry? Wow, Ryan.
I could, well,
wow.
Yeah, that's a touche.
Wow.
But I can't imagine her family standing by this decision.
And like funding the wedding, which they clearly did.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I get that part.
Yeah.
Allowed.
Allowed. Yes.
But at the same time, like, they kind of answer that when Claire and her dad, Christopher Walken, are talking, and they're looking at flowers for her wedding, and he's like, well, you know, it's your sister. She wants what she wants, and she wants it now, so I'm just going to give it to her. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the difficult daughter, and he just wants to pawn her off, I think, is basically what it is.
Touché.
Mine was just, we've seen this cliche trope in a lot of romantic comedies, which I would kind of consider this to be.
Yeah.
Though it's more male-driven. But that Claire is even dating Sack in the first place, and she somehow is clueless to the fact that he's an utter asshole.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot in romantic comedies. It's the female is dating a guy who is clearly a horrible person, mm-hmm. and she's just like blind to it.
It's their way to get us to root for the person they want us to root. Is they have to make him the worst human being they could.
And he is like, at the beginning, he's not too bad.
Yeah.
But there's something about him that's like a little off. He's a little aggressive when they're playing football, and that's a little weird. And then he just becomes this utter dick, like when John poisons his water with eyedroppers and mm-hmm. he's just puking and
has diarrhea.
Yeah. And Claire goes to check on him, and he's the biggest asshole to her.
Yeah.
That should have been like a red flag for her to be like, okay, this guy is not nice. I'm sure that's not the first time he's been an asshole to her, too.
He literally tells her to go get him some 7-Up because he might feel vulnerable.
Because she was trying to say, like, it's okay to be vulnerable in front of me. Like,
Like, he just is he's a pretentious a-hole to her.
Oh, for sure. And he comes off as this nice person who's does habitat for humanity and all this stuff, mm-hmm. but he's very much an aggressive person.
Super.
And I have some thoughts on his character.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Did you have anything else?
That was all I had.
I guess the only other small plot hole I have is that, so they come into this family, John and Jeremy. They get invited to the weekend getaway mm-hmm. It's their vacation home, right? It's not even their real home.
I was going to say their vacation home, which was a mansion.
Yeah. And they see that this family is not very perfect. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Isla Fisher's character is a little kooky, mm-hmm. to say the least. And then there's Todd, who's just a whole nother thing. And the mom is, constantly hitting on John. But, like, Claire is very well adjusted. It doesn't make sense to me.
Agreed.
And the other sister, you don't even see her at all in the whole movie. So, but for some reason, Claire's perfectly normal.
As I say, the whole family.
Yeah.
A little out there. I guess the secretary wasn't that.
He had moments, like Christopher, but I don't know if that was just Christopher Walken.
He was just walking.
Yeah, he was just walking. Yeah. Or if it was like when he's really suspicious of Jeremy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just come off as like a dad being worried about his daughter. It's like almost like creepy.
Yeah.
The way he like paid attention to him. But do you want to move on to your funniest moment?
Yes. My funniest moment was, I don't know that I ever really appreciated it. And it's when Gloria goes over to ask Christopher Walken if Jeremy and John can come to their like retreat at their house. And she starts throwing a temper tantrum where she's like blowing her cheeks out and stomping up and down to the point that Vince Vaughn even comments, she's like a kid at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I need to get away from her. Because obviously he is, at this point, already slept with her, and she told him she was a virgin, so he freaks out.
Yes.
Yeah. Stage 5 clinger.
Yes. Why do I remember that? Out of everything in this film, I remember that the most. That one was pretty funny. I don't really agree with how Isla Fisher's character is depicted as like a female character, but I think she uses her time well as an actress.
Yeah.
Mine was just something that Vince Vaughn says to Sack when they're coming back from, I think they were like sailing, and they're coming back, and Sack has been sick all day, but he's meeting them at the dock, and he's like, it's time to go quail hunting. And I can't remember what Jeremy says, but he's like, Sack goes out like, you got a problem with that? And he's like, not nearly as much as I do with the attire you have on and just your general point of view towards everyone, but let's go kill some birds. I'm psyched. Just the way he said it.
Yeah. It's, he goes, we're going to go shoot little birds.
Yeah.
And then, Sack tells him they're overpopulated in this area. They're ravaging something.
That's right, because he's like supposed to be this humanitarian and animal rights activist, and so then Jeremy's like, "But you're also a hunter? That's weird."
Yeah, that was my second funniest moment that I had put in there, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then my other one is just the line at the very beginning when Rebecca De Mornay is like, "You shut your mouth when you're talking to me," and Vince Vaughn's character's like, "What?"
Which is a line like we still say.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure every time I see my brother, he says that to me. Like when I upset him, he'll be like, shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
What was your cringiest liner moment?
There was a moment that I never caught, which it's John, right? Is Vince Vaughn?
Jeremy.
Sorry. Jeremy, he wakes up and he tells John about how he was raped.
Yes.
By Gloria.
Yes.
Those were his words he used. He was like, how'd you sleep? And he was like, well, other than being raped. And John just glosses over it, does not care, and starts quoting the wedding crashing rules to him and how you don't leave a man behind. Because Jeremy's like, I want to leave. I don't want to be here anymore.
I don't know if you know this, men can't get raped by beautiful women.
That's true.
That's obviously we're being sarcastic.
Yes.
Guys.
But
that's what they're trying to say.
He literally says that to him. He's like, I got raped last night. And Owen Wilson's like, I don't give a fuck. I want to hook up with Rachel McAdams.
Yeah. No, that part was really bad because I'm just like, we're making fun of rape, or we're not even making fun of it. You're downplaying it. Mm-hmm. And even when Jeremy's character's like, I don't feel comfortable here anymore. I want to get out of this situation. Yeah. He's just like, well, get over it.
I mean, he does marry his rapist.
That's true.
He couldn't have been that upset.
Right? But we're downplaying it.
Yeah.
That's not something. It shouldn't have been a thing,
no.
I guess. It shouldn't have been in the plot. It shouldn't have been something that you can rationalize. Ugh. Yeah. It's icky.
It is.
Mine was mostly just the montage of them continually lying to women to get in their pants, and then also those women being like oblivious to their lies and then just being like, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, they do show a scene after where the lady is just like, is everything you say bullshit? Mm-hmm. And so I guess that was to like kind of cover up the fact that these women are playing along in a way, whatever. But just the whole montage of it. And at one point it's just women falling back into the bed. And I thought that looked cheesy and just kind of unnecessary.
Very cheesy.
But that's just me.
When I was watching it, I was thinking, this movie shouldn't be called Wedding Crashers. It should be called Wedding Ruiners.
Yeah. Well, to be fair,
exactly.
I do think that they, at the beginning, they do bring some enjoyment to people. Like, they're the party starters.
I thought it was fine with them, like, dancing and having a good time. But when you're over there cutting the cake with a bride and groom, that you're crashing's wedding and you don't know them, I'm like, you guys probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
But I did like the scenes where John is going around ruining weddings. Yeah. And people are getting pissed at him. Like, what are you even doing here? Because he's doing all the crap that they did together.
But more depressed.
More depressing, and nobody appreciated it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well done.
Because I think the moral of the story is just the fact that you aren't always going to want to do the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in the beginning of the movie, John is kind of tired of it. Yeah. It's kind of played out. He says a line like, I don't want to say what we're doing is sleazy. And then I'm like, yes, it's exactly what you're doing is sleazy.
Yes.
But, you know.
Yeah.
But at least they're true to their nature of, like, we don't want to settle down. We just want to party and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, because I think a majority of the women are not seeing that wedding hookup as, like, a connection of this is going to go somewhere. So, you know, whatever. It's not like where Trapp's character is also a sleazebag, but he is trapping a woman. Not Trapp's character.
Sack.
Sack. Mm-hmm. Sack, Trap, they're all the same. Sack is trapping Claire in a marriage.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be a total dick and cheat on her and all this stuff. So I'm like, which one's worse? A guy that's honest about his intentions? And I'm like, obviously, in this movie, John lies to her because that's how they got into the wedding, and he kind of had to just keep up with the lie. But I think he was very honest with her, like when they were connecting. He wasn't lying about, you know, his feelings or whatever they were talking about. Mm-hmm. So I guess at the end of the day, it's like, which one's sleazier? Probably Sack.
Yeah, probably.
But did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I did think one of the few moments where this movie kind of shows a little bit of heart was at the very beginning. Jeremy's secretary comes in and gives him a sleeping bag, and he mentions that he never lets John spend his birthday by himself because his parents had both passed away, and he made a promise to him that he would never let him do that.
Yeah.
And even to the point when they're not talking anymore, he still shows up at his door on his birthday with the sleeping bags, like, you know, and John's going down a spiral and just not taking care of himself. But I was just like, that's cute that they, like, you know, had that type of relationship.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, there's a lot of things in this movie that are super dated, but that thing is what that stuck with me, is the fact that they had a decent friendship and that they were there for each other and that they loved each other. But at the same time, I mean, because they have to have that conflict, you know, John kind of uses Jeremy a little bit more towards the end and doesn't care about his feelings as much, just because he's becoming more obsessed with Claire and wants to be around her more. Did you have anything else?
I did not. You want to take a quick break before we hand out some awards?
Faux show.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. And as always on Ruining Our Childhood, it is award season. We give out 2 awards every week, the first of which is the valedictorian to the Nicolas Cage Online School of Bad Acting. Whom did you give your award to?
I gave mine to Keir O'Donnell for Todd Cleary, because there's a lot of factors here. So we kind of mentioned earlier that there's a lot of homophobia, especially centered around his character because his character is gay. But not only is his character gay, but he's also this almost like hermit, not awkward, but more than awkward. Like, I feel like his family literally locks him in a closet, not to be a symbol of anything, but he acts like he's a vampire or something, you know?
Yeah.
I just don't like the way they depicted the only gay character in this film. They made him seem like he's almost like a freak. Yes. You know, I kept waiting for him to go at the sight of, like, sunlight. Exactly. But his character doesn't really serve a purpose other than to be a butt of their jokes. And I don't know, like, maybe it was to also symbolize how their family isn't perfect. Like, from the outside, maybe you're looking at political families as, like, these perfect families, but they have their own secrets and whatnot, and I don't know. And I agree with you as far as the character was not necessary to the story. He's kind of almost like forgotten halfway through. They have that scene where after Gloria literally rapes Jeremy. He comes in and is thinking that Jeremy likes him, and he trying to, like, pursue something sexual, and he gave him a painting and all this stuff, but, you know, Jeremy talks his way out of it. Yeah. It's just, I think it just reinforces that homophobic fear that all gay men are gonna want to have sex with you at all times, and they're gonna trick you into it, or they're gonna force themselves on you, and that's obviously not
Because if we know one thing about gay men is they're attracted to every man.
Right.
They don't have a type as long as you're a man.
And if you're tied up, naked, ready to go. Yeah.
There you go.
Again, being sarcastic, that is not the case. Yeah, he's just unnecessary character and horrible depiction of anybody that is gay.
I kept it in the family. I gave mine to Granny, Ellen Albertini Dow, and felt the same exact way. It's a pointless character. Mm-hmm. She's homophobic and racist, I believe.
Yeah.
But again, it serves no purpose to the story.
It's just for jokes.
They're just there for jokes that don't age well.
Yeah.
And also, she tries to shoot someone
when
they find out he's a wedding crasher. Seems like an offense that should be someone getting shot at.
Right? Some people would argue that it is, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah. It's worth it.
Yeah. So, shall we move on?
Yes.
The next award is the Thomas J. Hinks Award for Exceptional Acting. Who did you give your award to?
I gave it to Rachel McAdams as Claire.
Same.
Wow. I looked at it and went, that is the only character in this movie that is remotely likable.
Yes, for sure.
Everybody's terrible.
Yeah.
Our heroes are terrible. The one that is the nice one, John?
Yeah.
He crashes a fucking funeral.
But right after, he's like, okay, this is too much.
And then, I did take an issue with her taking John back. Mm-hmm. Because in the speech where he goes to win her back during a wedding, by the way, he gives a speech in the middle of the service.
Right.
He tells her, I crashed a funeral earlier today.
And then he does a sidebar and he's just like, he's cleaning up. Chaz is cleaning up there. Yeah.
So she did have terrible judgment, but she was hands down, like you said, the most well-adjusted, likable character, most normal character in this whole movie.
It's kind of sad that we chose her in the sense that she's not the most developed female character, which I think rewatching a lot of these movies from this time, I've come to the realization how poorly written female characters are. Because you are centered around her family for most of the movie, you do feel like she's more developed than some other characters would be. But she kind of has this thing about her that's kind of like, I'm not like other girls. Yeah. Like, I feel like I was waiting for her to say that. But there's something about Rachel McAdams that she's so likable. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
No, she was.
It was an easy pick for me.
I think back to when I watched this movie the first time, rooting for her and John to get together. And when I watched it today, I'm just rooting for her to go find someone normal.
I will say I did like the line that I don't know if I ever paid attention to it before today rewatching it, but when he's kind of giving his declaration of love at the end, he's just like, you don't even have to pick me, just don't marry that guy, which I'm like, that is very true. He's a horrible human being, Sack.
And I felt like Sack just stands up and proclaims that they're getting married during a meal, but doesn't propose to her or anything. He's just like, we're getting married. You don't even get an opinion on this. He
mentions when he's talking on the phone with his friend Trap, he's just like, because Trap's like, how's Claire? Is she still trying to find herself? People that are trying to find themselves are dumb.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't know, but when we get married, I want a wife, not a humanitarian or something like that. And I'm like, wow, you're really the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. In a movie with a lot of terrible people.
Right?
You set yourself apart.
Somehow they made it so, like I mentioned earlier, that you are going, okay, John is the better option.
Yeah.
Because he's at least doesn't think that poorly of women. Mm-hmm. His image of women is not the greatest, but it's still better than Sack.
Mm-hmm. Touche.
So,
you ready to answer that age-old question?
I am.
Does this movie hold up to your adult standards?
It doesn't.
I gotta agree.
Again, we really need to make our movie scale, on a scale of 1 being Biodome, 10 being A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
I would say it's the middle of the road.
Yeah.
There's still really funny parts, and I really have to think, Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn's, I think they had really great chemistry.
Yes.
It's really believable that they're friends. Mm-hmm. And that's the only part of the movie that I liked.
No, they were very funny. And like you said, they have a lot of chemistry. And there was still quite a few good chuckles in this movie.
Yes.
But it is very cringy. And like you said, not very likable at the same time.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I will say it was for the exact reasons that I thought going into it, was that they were going to not portray women very positively. I did not anticipate how unlikable John and Jeremy were going to be rewatching it.
Yeah.
I was like, you are pretty terrible guys.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree. I also feel like the one small redeeming quality to it also is that John's character actually learns a lesson from his frequent wedding crashing and then eventual funeral crashing. Mm-hmm. Like, he learns that that's not what he wants in life. I guess that's better than some movies we've seen where I feel like the person never learns their lesson, but yet they're still rewarded.
That is a big trope of the 90s movies. Exactly. They don't learn their lesson. They're still the person, but somehow they get the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Alrighty.
So, another one in the books.
Booyah.
Jay and Silent Bob is going to the next round. And, of course, I don't have the new movie pulled up, so why would I? That's
Jay and Silent Bob going to the Final Four.
Yeah. Next week's matchup is between the Pauly Shore classic In the Army Now versus The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So look out for that poll on Thursday.
Yes. Over on Twitter.
On Twitter and on Friday on Instagram.
Yes.
And let us know which movie we should rewatch.
I hope they pick The Day After Tomorrow.
Really?
I don't know if I'm ready to sit through a Pauly Shore. Yeah.
You're still reeling from Biodome.
I was going to say, Biodome
That was like
me.
7 months ago.
It broke me.
It broke you. Oh, good times. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, thanks for listening, guys, and making us part of your week.
Yeah.
And just stay safe and keep living life.
Yeah, I hate the fact that I have to keep saying stay safe.
Yeah.
But
it used to just apply to COVID.
Yeah.
Stay safe, guys.
Bye.
Bye.